Hello friends, maybe this is the first time that I am doing this live, YouTube live after so many years, so many months. The reason is that I would like to uh, explain about my point of view regarding the Magnifica Humanitas. For me, it is personally, it's Publio's call to keep humanity above technology. So, like in every age, we have humanity encounters various interventions that change the course of civilization. I'll give you example. No, fire it transformed survival. The wheel altered movement. Then the printing press it revolutionized knowledge, and electricity it reshaped society. The Industrial Revolution, remember, it changed how people work and live. And then this digital age redrew the boundaries of communication and commerce also. Today, humanity stands before another powerful turning point, and that is artificial intelligence. From mobile phones that complete our sentences, no, to machines capable of writing beautiful essays, beautiful stories, creating images, diagnosing illness, and predicting human behavior. Artificial intelligence is no longer a futuristic dream, it is a present reality. It promises remarkable benefits, yet it also raises serious questions. Will technology serve humanity or slowly control it? Can this intelligence created by humans eventually weaken what is most human in us? Who decides the moral limits of machines? You know, these are among profound concerns addressed by Pope Leo XIV in this encyclical Magnifica Humanitas, which was of course released on the 25th of last month, May 2026. Though issued by a leader of the Catholic Church, this document is not actually meant for religious texts directed for the believers. Rather, it reads like a thoughtful appeal to the conscience of this modern world. By the way, the Pope is not condemning technology, nor is he calling for fear of the innovation that we have. Instead, dear friends, he asks humanity to pause and examine a simple but very urgent question. As machines become more powerful, are human beings becoming wiser or more humane? The title of the encyclical Magnifica Humanitas, meaning the greatness of humanity, already reveals the heart of this encyclical. Publio places the dignity of the human person at the center of all the technological progress. You know, reading this encyclical, his message is clear. Technology is a tool, not a master. Artificial intelligence may imitate intelligence, but it must never replace human conscience, human compassion, and human moral responsibility. For many of you, no, for many of us, this papal encyclical may appear distant or highly theological documents meant for scholars and clergy. But you know what? Magnifica Humanitas is actually strikingly practical. Written in a very accessible language. You know that the Pope is an Englishman, and it is rooted in these present realities, as I said. It touches upon concerns that ordinary people face every day, like employment, education, privacy, misinformation, social media, human relationships, and even warfare. So, therefore, in many ways, Pope Leo XIV follows the path opened more than a century ago by Pope Leo XIII, whose landmark we all know, his encyclical Rerum Novarum, which addressed the social consequences of the Industrial Revolution. At that time, you remember new machines, new factories, of course, increased productivity, but at the same time, it created exploitation, inequality, and social unrest. Workers became vulnerable to systems driven purely by profit. Society needed moral guidance to ensure that economic progress did not crush humanity. And that is what Pope Leo XIII in Rerum Novarum addressed. Today, Pope Leo XIV suggests the world faces a very similar challenge. Artificial intelligence represents a new industrial revolution, but of course, faster, more global, and potentially more disruptive than anything humanity has ever known before. While artificial intelligence can improve medicine, it can improve agriculture, it can improve education and public services, it can also deepen inequality, eliminate jobs, manipulate truth, and reduce human beings to mere data. The encyclical, therefore, it refuses to accept the popular assumption that technological advancement is automatically equal to moral progress. A machine may calculate faster than a human being, but it does not possess wisdom. That is what the encyclical stresses. Machine may process language, but it cannot genuinely love. It may recognize emotions, yet it does not experience compassion. So therefore, according to Pope Leo XIV, confusing efficiency with humanity is one of the greatest dangers of our time. Therefore, dear friends, this warning deserves attention and to be pondered. Across the world, people increasingly depend on digital systems, even to the point of making decisions entrusted to human judgment, which once upon a time. Algorithms recommend what people read, watch, and buy. Automated systems influence employment opportunities, credit approvals, and legal assessments. In hospitals, artificial intelligence helps doctors diagnose illness. In schools, students increasingly rely on artificial intelligence tools for their various assignments and even research. Listen to this. None of these developments are necessarily harmful. Indeed, for those who have read the encyclical, the Pope openly acknowledges that enormous potential of artificial intelligence is there to improve life. Medical technologies powered by artificial intelligence can detect diseases earlier, and then it can assist doctors in saving lives. Smart agriculture can help poor farmers even to use resources more efficiently. We have language technologies that can bridge communication gaps and provide access to learning for millions and millions. Governments may use intelligent systems to improve public administration and reduce inefficiency. Pope Leo XIV, as I said, appreciates all these possibilities. Therefore, his encyclical is not anti-science or anti-technology as someone told me. Instead, dear friends, it offers a principle of discernment. Technological progress must always be evaluated according to whether it enhances or it diminishes our human dignity. The principle sounds very, very simple, yet it carries profound consequences. Take, for example, the question of unemployment. One of the most pressing anxieties surrounding artificial intelligence is concerning jobs. Across industries, machines are increasingly capable of performing tasks once reserved only for human workers. Customer service, transportation, accounting, media, journalism, manufacturing, and even creative professions now face growing automation. So therefore, for ordinary families, this is not an abstract debate. Employment is more than a source of income. Work gives meaning, work gives purpose, and work gives identity. Through work, through labor, people support their families and they contribute to society. Pope Leo XIV, therefore, warns against an economy that values productivity more than a person's dignity. If business adopt artificial intelligence solely to maximize profits while ignoring the social cause of unemployment and displacement, technological progress becomes morally deficient. Machines may increase wealth, but if that wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few while millions are excluded, society risks deepening inequality and resentment. This concern resonates strongly in developing countries, including our country India, where young populations look toward technology with both hope and uncertainty. Yes, artificial intelligence can generate opportunities, but without ethical planning, it may also widen the divide between those who possess digital access and those who remain marginalized. We need to think about this, especially those who are ruling the country. Another major concern raised in this encyclical Magnifica Humanitas is truth. The digital world has made information instantly available, but not always reliable. Falsehood spreads rapidly through social media. Manipulated images, fabricated videos, and misleading content can distort public opinion and definitely lots of damage of reputations. Artificial intelligence now makes it increasingly difficult to distinguish between the reality from fabrication. The Pope Leo XIV sees this not merely as a technical problem, but as a moral crisis. Truth, the Pope argues, is essential for social trust. Families, Communities and democracies cannot survive where deception becomes normal. If technology enables mass misinformation without accountability, societies risk losing their shared foundation of reality. This is what the Pope said in this encyclical. This warning carries special significance in an era of deep fakes and algorithm-driven popularization. Around the world, elections, public debates, and social harmony increasingly suffer from misinformation amplified by the digital systems. AI-generated content may entertain and inform, but it may also deceive, and consequently, it may also divide. So therefore, for a common reader, this encyclical, the Pope's message is very, very straightforward. Do not surrender critical thinking to emotions. Verify information. Use technology responsibly. Digital literacy is no longer an optional, which once upon a time it may be, but today no. It is a civic and a moral responsibility of each one of us. Then, the encyclical also addressed an issue that many people rarely consider, and that is privacy. Modern life generates enormous amounts of personal data. Every click you made, every search you do, every search, every purchase, every location, every online interaction, it leaves marks or it leaves traces. Technology, companies and institutions often collect this information to improve service or to target their advertisement. Yet such data can also be exploited or misused. So therefore, in this encyclical, Pope Leo XIV raises a serious question. When human beings become merely data profiles, what happened to his or to her personal freedom? The concern is not a paranoia. Around the world, debates continues over surveillance of technologies, facial recognition systems and data security. Intelligence systems can track behavior on a very, very unprecedented scales. So, while such technologies may assist law enforcement or public service, but they also risk eroding privacy and civil liberties if all these are left unchecked. So therefore, in this encyclical, the Pope insists that human beings are not products to be monitored and manipulated. He said every person possesses an intrinsic dignity that must be respected beyond commercial or even beyond political interests. Sounds very, very interesting and meaningful. And then perhaps one of the most emotionally powerful sections of this first encyclical of the Pope, Leo XIV, concerns is about human relationships. Of course, modern technology promises connection, yet we know loneliness and isolation continues to grow. Families often share physical space while living in separate digital worlds. Young people spend hours online yet struggle with anxiety, with depression, and even social alienation. This is reality. Artificial intelligence increasingly enters intimate spaces. You have virtual companions, virtual girlfriends, emotional chatbots, digital assistants designed to simulate empathy. Here, the Pope speaks with particular sensitivity. While he acknowledged that such tools may or may not, no, it may assist or it may not assist individuals facing loneliness or disability. The Pope warns against replacing authentic relationships with the artificial substitutes. Human beings flourish through genuine encounter, through person to person, through friendship, through family, sacrifice, and shared presence. So therefore, a machine may imitate conversation, but it cannot replace human love. These points may sound sentimental in a technological age, yet, my dear friends, it addresses a deep human hunger. People do not merely seek efficiency, they seek belonging and meaning. Technology can support relationships, we cannot deny that, but it must never impoverish them. This, again, we need to reflect. Then the encyclical also ventures into perhaps the most alarming dimension of artificial intelligence, and that is warfare. You know, there are autonomous weapons and military artificial intelligence systems are no longer science fiction which we read in books. Nations are increasingly invest in technologies capable of identifying and attacking targets with minimal human intervention. So that's why in this encyclical, Pope Leo XIV speaks with grave concern about this kind of development. Delegating life and death decisions to machines, he argues, risks crossing a very, very dangerous moral boundary. War already inflicts immense suffering. Introducing autonomous killing system may further distance human beings from the consequences of violence. This is another grave danger that the Pope speaks in this encyclical. His warning echoes a broader international debate involving even scientists, diplomats, and human rights advocates. You know what? When machines become instrumental of lethal decision making, who carries responsibility for mistakes, abuses, or even unintended casualties? Who? The Pope's answer is very, very firm in this. Moral accountability cannot be automated, cannot be given to machines. Yet, perhaps the most important contribution of this encyclical lies not in any single policy proposal, but in its deeper vision of humanity. I think this is what the special of this encyclical, the speciality of this encyclical. Then the encyclical challenges a cultural temptation increasingly visible today, no? The tendency to define human worth according to his or her performance, or to his productivity, or his digital or her digital relevance. In a world fascinated by speed and efficiency, people may begin to value themselves according to the metrics, no? According to followers and according to algorithms. Pope Leo XIV, in this encyclical, rejects this mindset. Humanity for him, no, and this is what he insists, does not depend on usefulness or on technological sophistication, no. Rather, every person, young or old, healthy or vulnerable, educated or poor, the Pope says he possesses immeasurable worth. That's why this encyclical is something beautiful. This message extends far beyond, our Christian or a Catholic theology. It speaks to a universal ethical principles shared across cultures and traditions. Human rights, democratic values, and humanitarian ideals all rest upon the belief that persons possess dignity and deserving protection. In this sense, therefore, dear friends, this encyclical Magnifica Humanitas is not merely a church document, like many might be thinking, but it is a contribution to a global ethical dialogue. So as I said, like some critics may argue that religious leaders should avoid commenting on technological matters. Yet, history also suggests otherwise. Moral reflections has always accompanied scientific progress. The question is not whether technology advances, but what values guides its advancement. We must remember this. We have scientists design powerful tools. We have economists assess efficiency. We have engineers build systems. But societies also need philosophers. They need ethicists. They need spiritual voices asking difficult questions about the meaning and responsibility. So therefore, I think during our time, at this moment, Pope Leo XIV enters in this conversation not as a technician, but as a moral witness. From my perspective, especially after reading this encyclical, the Pope seems to say something remarkably simple, and that is, artificial intelligence is a gift when it serves humanity, and a danger when humanity begins serving it. I think this wisdom of the Pope, this wisdom of our leader deserves attention. I don't know. What do you think about it? The excitement surrounding AI often oscillates between the utopian dreams and the catastrophic fears. Some imagine that machines solving every problem, while others fear technological domination. This encyclical Magnifica Humanitas avoids both the extremes. It embraces hope without surrendering prudence. This encyclical, again, it does not ask humanity to reject innovation. I'm telling you again and again. Rather, it asks humanity to guide this innovation with conscience. And that may be its greatest strength. So therefore, at a time when public discourse is actually, or rather frequently, polarized and sensationalized, Pope Leo XIV offers a calm and a balanced voice. He neither worships technology nor he demonizes it. Instead, he reminds that the ultimate question is not what machines can do, but what human beings ought to do. I think this distinction is very, very vital. Artificial intelligence again will undoubtedly continue to transform our society. It has influence, and it will still continue to influence on our education, on medicine, on communication, on governance, and it will grow stronger day by day. The challenge, therefore, is not whether artificial intelligence exists, but whether humanity develops the wisdom necessary to govern it responsibly. In the end, I think I am too long already. I will end my life by saying Magnifica Humanitas leaves readers with a challenge and a hope. The challenge is to resist technological determinism. They believe that weather can be built must inevitably be accepted. Humanity still possesses moral agency. And therefore, people and societies can choose and must choose ethical boundaries. The hope lies in recognizing that the human dignity remains stronger than all this technological power that we have witnessed. This is the message of this encyclical. As the world races towards AI-driven future, Pope Leo's encyclical serves as an important reminder. Progress without conscience may produce clever machines, but an impoverished humanity. Technology may shape civilization, but it must never define the value of the human person. This is another strong point in this encyclical. That perhaps is the enduring message of this encyclical Magnifica Humanitas. A message, as I said, not only for Catholics or for Christians, but for every human being who hopes that the future will remain profoundly and unmistakably human. As I said, I've been too long on this live. I will end it here. And I wish all of you, dear friends, happy time reading this encyclical, which is about 40 to 50,000 words only, and enter into the discourse, enter into the message of the Pope, no, especially about human dignity, that we are worth, that we have dignity, and we should not be controlled by machine, by artificial intelligence. See you again in the next episode, which most probably I will be doing in Khasi, for those of our friends who might require to know about this encyclical of the Pope. Once again, thank you, and may God bless you always. Stay strong, stay healthy, stay connected to God, not to machines. Ciao, bye.